What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sports Brawl right here. I'm the head commissioner, the Raptor Master Jonathan Peck right here, and we got exciting matchup right here though. And before we get to our two competitors right here, though, I'm gonna introduce to my fellow judges in the bottom of my screen right here. So I'm gonna introduce everybody's 50th dad around the fan leagues, Mr. Papa West. How you doing, Papa West?
50th dad. I didn't realize everyone had more than two, but okay. I guess I can be everyone's dad. Jonathan, it's 50th favorite dad. You're missing a very key word. But no, I am doing great. I am ready to talk sports since I've just been watching reruns and nothing new, and it's depressing, and I need something to fill that void. So thankfully, I'm here.
All right. Same thing with me right here. And also, along with Papa West to judge with me and Papa West and we got Mr. Kevin Paz. How you doing, Kevin?
I am doing well, Jonathan. Thanks for having me. I have been doing several sports brawls here lately. Won't mention any spoilers about the other semifinal matchup, but hopefully Peggy and Asher can do at least half as well as both of those competitors because they really brought it. So I'm excited to hear these arguments.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, let's go into our competitors themselves. You've seen her not only make her sports bra debut, but her debut in the debate leagues and TMG Entertainment. We got Miss Peggy Gubbins himself. How you doing, Peggy?
I've been better. I'm a little under the weather today, but I'm excited to have a distraction and talk about sports for a little bit. So let's go.
All right, short to the point right here. And facing against Peggy was actually the judges who have judged her first match right here. Now I'll be a competitor in her way. We got Mr. Asher Gold. How you doing, Asher?
I'm doing great. I'm digging the haircut, John. I think it's really, really nice. Um, yeah, and I did judge Peggy's match, and man, she brought it there. So I'm ready for like a really, really good match right now.
Yeah. And with that, and like one of my judges pointed out right here, whoever wins this matchup will face the eventual winner of Ethan or Amaru right here. So I'm actually can't wait for this little bit matchup right here. So before I will start the game, we're going to play out some of the ground rules right here though. For our matchups right here, both of you have 1 minute extension. You can only use them for your opening or your closing right here if you're willing to use it. And another part in our rules right here is 90 seconds for your opening, 5 minutes for your opening debate, and 60 seconds for your closing right here. For the speed rounds right here, if both of you will go into the speed rounds, the speed round question usually goes for 45 seconds long on the opening, 30 seconds on the rebuttal, and 20 seconds on the closing right here. So judges themselves have the pen and piece of paper right here, write down the notes right here, just made for the opening and the 5 minute debate right here though. And during the closing, do not encourage players right here to get new points during the closing, and just want to make sure to keep it fair fight. So, is everybody ready for this fight?
Just before we get started, I've got the timer, so when we
Yes.
get to 1 minute, I'll say a brief 1 minute, hold up my finger, and then when we get to 10, I'll count you down.
Yes. All right. With that, as I was going to say one last time, is everybody ready for this match?
Yep.
Why not?
All right, let's do this. Let's go into round number one. Round number one, which is Peggy Straight of the NFL. And this question brought up a very interesting question, and it depends many ways you want to do it. And this question is this: which NFL player has the best single season record? Since this is Peggy Straight right here, we'll go with her first with her selection.
When you say best single season record, in my mind, it's a record that was set that holds for years, that is untouchable. That is, if it gets broken, it'll be an interesting turn of events because the one I chose, no one's ever going to touch it. This rookie had 14 interceptions. That's his first season in the NFL. 14, and that was in 12 games. This was back when it was a 12-game season. And this record still holds to this day. I chose Dick Night Train Lane, Dick Night Train Lane and his 14 interceptions as a rookie. No one's ever going to touch that one. I can see the rest of my time.
All right. Peggy starts with Dick Night Train Lane, 14 interceptions during his rookie season. Very good selection indeed. I'm going with Asher with his selection.
Okay, so that's a pretty good choice. I'm going to admit it, but I think mine beats that. I think Chris Johnson's 2,509 yards from scrimmage is an incredible record that, although it was just set a little bit over 10 years ago, it's going to hold because it's a passing game nowadays, and it's evolved into a passing game. And for a while, it's not going to be a running game. But Chris Johnson put his team on his shoulders and willed them to 8 wins that year with his 2,509 yards from scrimmage. So that's why his yards from scrimmage record is my pick for the best single season record of all time.
All right, we got the night train versus CJ2K in this argument. Wow, this is a very good charismatic nicknames himself. Why I'm saying that. Okay. One of you begins the 5-minute debate with one of you begins talking.
I'll go. Okay, so yeah, 14 interceptions in 12 games is very impressive. But I would say the competition that Dick the Night Train Lane faced was very weak. He was playing against a bunch of quarterbacks who didn't really throw the ball that well. They were more known as facilitators and players who would hand off the ball or run, because football back in the day was sort of designed as rugby, but forward passes.
Yeah,
so
exactly. If they were facilitators and you're supposed to hand the ball off, the fact that he got 14 interceptions back then, that's incredible.
But if you look at the attempts, they still made a lot of attempts to throw the ball. And because of that, I mean, what are you to expect from these players? These players, when they throw it, it's just going to fall into the hands. They have almost every player that Dick, I'm just going to call him Night Train for sake of easiness. Every player that Night Train faced who was a quarterback that year, most of them had a touchdown to interception ratio favoring the interception side. They threw more interceptions than they threw touchdowns. And that's because back in the day, they were bad at throwing the ball. When they had to, and it resulted in an interception more times than not. I'm not saying his interception record is incredible. I think it's very good. But what I'm trying to dispute is that the competition he faced was much weaker than what Chris Johnson faced.
Okay, so let's turn the tables and go with your pick. Chris Johnson, yards from scrimmage is the definer that you chose. It's funny that you say yards from scrimmage, because if you just go rushing yards, it's already been beaten. If you go all-purpose yards, the record's already been beaten. Last year, Christian McCaffrey came within, 114 yards of breaking that mark. That was just last year. That's one game.
You have Christian McCaffrey.
If you talk about best overall record, you want one that no one's even come close to. The closest in recent memory for interceptions is 10. And that's in a 16-game season. This was back when there was a 12-game season. No one's ever going to touch this. That's what you fit the bet. Especially when you run it as a rookie record. If you narrow it down even further than that, rookies are not going to do it. Not this way that the NFL is these days. It's just never going to happen.
I don't know. Deion Sanders and Champ Bailey were pretty impressive in their own rights as rookies. And Champ Bailey did get 10 interceptions in a pretty young season. But when you talk about Chris Johnson, I just want to mention that Vince Young and Kerry Collins were his two quarterbacks, and there was a whole quarterback controversy going on during this time, and he was facing teams. The competition he ended up facing teams with a winning record, and he ended up facing a strength of schedule that was very, very strong. He had the 14-2 Colts in his division, and he had to face them twice. He ended up having the 9-7 Texans twice. He faced the Patriots, the Cardinals, the Chargers, the 13-3 Chargers. So he had to face all of these teams with terrible quarterbacking, and just the opposing teams knew what was going to happen. They knew that Terry Collins or Vince Young was going to hand the ball off to Chris Johnson every single time, or throw it to Chris Johnson every single time. Yes, they did. Because
Vince Young's in there, he was a threat to run it himself. You ever see the Rose Bowl? If Vince Young is under center, he's not just a threat to throw it; he's a threat to just pick it up and run it himself. They didn't need to rely on Chris Johnson specifically.
Then why did they end up? Then why did they end up platooning Terry Collins and Vince Young? If Vince Young's such a threat to throw and run the ball,
you just have to respect his ability. I'm not saying that
he's capable.
I'm not saying that his game transferred to the next level. He's a lot like Taylor Hansbrough in that regard. We're just going back to my last sports debate.
Yeah,
but no, you're talking about all, yards from scrimmage. But if you just reword your stance to just rushing yards, that number drops and he's 7th on the list. If you go all-purpose yards, that number he's 6th on the list. I don't know about the yards from scrimmage. You're talking about yards that don't count officially in the record book. You're trying to add on the running around yards that don't officially count. We're talking about stuff that sticks in the stat book. He's already 6th or 7th on the list.
Yards from scrimmage.
Derek Mason, Michael Lewis, Leon James, Fred Jackson, and Josh Cripps.
I'm glad you did your research too. No, yards from scrimmage is receiving yards and rushing yards as well.
Yeah, all-purpose yards. If you go all-purpose yards, then he drops down even further.
Cool. Yeah.
Whatever. I'm gonna.
Time. All right. Time. Okay. This is very interesting so far. All right. All right. Let's go into for your closings right here. Since this is Peggy straight frame, I'm going to go with Asher to start with his closing for his final argument. Timer begins when you begin talking.
Quarterbacks in the 50s were facilitators. They were playing a game much styled in the same way as rugby. However, they still had to pass the ball, and they were terrible at passing the ball. When they threw the ball, they go into the defender. And luckily, that defender was Night Train with 14 interceptions. Now, it's a good record, and I understand what Peggy's saying, but when I speak for the truth of how poor the quarterbacking was back then, it's a marvel to me why Night Train. It makes sense, complete sense why Night Train got that. It does not make sense to me why Chris Johnson of all people ran for 2,000 plus yards and received for 500 plus yards in a year that they faced the Colts twice, the Chargers, the Texans, the Cards, and the Patriots with Terry Collins and Vince Young as their quarterbacks. You knew that Chris Johnson was getting the ball every time, and yet these teams could not stop him. He was that dominant of a force. He was that competitive of a player.
All right. I'm going to go closure on Asher right here. We're going to Peggy for her closing right here. The timer begins when you begin talking.
Second. CJ2K had an impressive season. But just last year, Christian McCaffrey came within 114 yards of breaking that all-purpose rushing, whatever mark. He had 2,392. That's pretty damn close. In 99, Marshall Faulk was a mere 77 yards away from that. Night Train had 14 interceptions in 12 games. We run a 16-game season nowadays, and the closest that anyone's gotten to him is 10. And he did this as a rookie. You can say that it was a rugby-style game back then, but if there was a rugby-style game, those interceptions were harder to come by because the ball was in the air a hell of a lot less. And we're talking 12 games compared to 16. If we're going to talk about the best record in the NFL, you want one that's not going to be broken anytime soon. And Night Train has held since 1954 and hasn't even been touched.
All right. Okay. I can see her closing. All right. Very good argument to start round one right here, and two very good choices right here. I'm gonna head up to start judging by Mr. Papa West down my screen right here. You know his thoughts on the argument and who deserves the point.
Real quick before we do that, Jonathan and Kevin, do y'all know who you're voting for first?
I got mine.
I got mine too.
Yeah, just make sure all the judges know who they're voting for before someone starts voting. I am going to give this to Peggy. Yeah, you can see it. Very good argument by both of y'all. I love how y'all studied for it. But I mean, biggest thing is what player has the best single season record? who is nowhere near getting that record beaten. He brought up the 10 interceptions as the closest, and that was with a 16-game season, and bringing it into rookies makes it even harder to come by, whereas Christian McCaffrey was 150 yards away from beating Chris Johnson. So I'm going to go with Peggy on this one.
All right. We got 1-0 Peggy. I'm gonna go to Kevin on this one for pick up who do you decide might get the point to and who to have the better argument.
I echo Jacob's sentiments in that my vote's going to go to Peggy. Asher, you brought up some really good points in your opening. How Chris Johnson, his numbers from scrimmage. Peggy twisted that around on you real quick, though. How you twisted your numbers, his all-purpose yards. He's 6 on the list. And how Dick Lane, that's a rookie record in a 12-game season. Probably not going to be touched. And you just didn't really have any ammo against that. If you could have given me some names, some stats, maybe it would have been a little closer, but I just have to give this one to Peggy.
All right. With that, we got 1-0 Peggy right here. She wins round number 1 right here. For me, if with my point would have mattered though. I would personally do the same thing. My point would have get to Peggy also. She put out the same points that both of you put that out there, and I actually agree. It was during the 12-game season right here at the time in the 50s in the NFL. It was really well matched right here. So with that, Peggy started off with 1-0 right here. Let's go into round number 2 right here. Let's go into Asher Strength, which is Major League Baseball. And this question brings up with this. What is the greatest walk-on home run in Major League Baseball history? So this is Asher's strength right here. I'm going to go with Asher with his selection.
What are the 2 greatest words in sports? Game 7. What is baseball's biggest stage? The World Series. So I have to choose the walk-off homer that ended Game 7 of the World Series. It's the only home run to ever come in a winner-take-all World Series game, which is awesome. And it is Bill Mazeroski's Game 7 homer in the 1960 World Series when he was a Pittsburgh Pirate and they were playing the Dynasty Yankees. This Yankees team had Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, Yogi Berra, Casey Stengel was coaching it. It had Whitey Ford. These are some of the best players to ever play the game. And Bill Mazeroski, with one swing of the bat, ended up sealing the Pittsburgh Pirates' win over this incredible team who won 2 of the past 4 World Series and has appeared in 4 of the past 5 World Series. This Pirates team was dead to rights. I don't think anybody expected the Pirates to win this World Series, and the way they won it was incredible on the swing of Bill Mazeroski, a no-doubter over left field. That's what my choice is. Bill Mazeroski's Game 7 walk-off homer in the 1960 World Series.
All right. We got Bill Mazeroski of the Pirates homer against the Yankees in Game 7. So very good choice on Asher's part right here. I'm going to go with Peggy with her selection.
For me, it had to go with something that meant so much to the fan base when it happened. They lost their minds. My walk-off home run isn't even a World Series walk-off home run. It happened before that. It was the tip of the sword that got them to the World Series and got them that first ring on their hands in 86 years. I am talking about the walk-off home run back in 2004 from David Ortiz against the aforementioned New York Yankees again. But this was an 86-year drought that was coming to an end, and the thing that kicked it off was at 1:22 in the morning when David Ortiz got up to bat at the bottom of the 12th and hit a walk-off homer, sending it from being down 0-3. They come back and they win the next 4 and go to the World Championship. You don't get there without a huge moment like that. So the best walk-off home run, in my opinion, was David Ortiz in the ALCS back in 2004.
All right. We got the Big Poppy versus Bill Ortiz right here, though. 2 very good homers indeed, though. So The 5-minute debate will begin when he begins talking.
I'm just going to say this right now. There were so many better moments in that series than that home run. You have the bloody sock. You have Dave Roberts stealing a base in the ninth inning and Bill Miller singling him in. I mean, those are the more electrifying moments in that series than David Ortiz walk-off home run.
It was an amazing series, and guess what? You remember it, right? Because you were alive when it happened. Your home run happened in 1960. I guarantee you no one in this room was alive back then. I bet most of your parents were not alive when that happened.
It cemented the legacy of baseball. It came in 1960 after baseball was super, super popular. But you know what was the pinnacle of baseball is an underdog team, just like your Red Sox coming against the Yankees. The
Just
Pirates,
like
people counted out I'm going to say it. The Red Sox were an underdog, but so were the Pirates. Nobody expected this Pirates team to win. The Yankees won all the time. And by the way, the Yankees were slipping up when it came to this. They lost in the 0-1 World Series against the Diamondbacks, a 3-year franchise at that point, and they lost it in the 0-3
They weren't slipping.
World.
They just got Alex Rodriguez. It was Alex Rodriguez's first year with the team. They weren't slipping. They were on the rise again. This was
Then why did they
comeback
lose
for the Yankees. The Red Sox were down 0-3 in the series. They had just lost 19-8 the night before. They were being demoralized, and all of a sudden they come running back. It was an amazing series, but the thing that capped it off, the cherry on top, was a walk-off homer from Big Papi. I mean, up to that date, up until then, prior to 2004, 25 teams in a 7-game series were down 0-3. None, not one, forced a Game 7. These guys were on the brink of being eliminated in the 9th, take it to the 12th. Walk-off homer, send it back to New York. Biggest rivalry, arguably, in sports is the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. No one cares about Yankees versus Pirates except for people in Pittsburgh and people back in 1960. No one remembers Bill. No one remembers Bill. Everyone remembers Big Papi right now.
It was their first win of 4, so they had to win 3 more. So there were other better moments in that series. Ortiz hit a walk-off single in Game 5.
This is what gave them the hope that they knew that they had a chance.
He didn't even face a good pitcher. He didn't even face Mariano Rivera. He had to face who? Not Sturts. He had to face
I find it funny that you can
Quantrill?
find all the
Quantrill?
stats on my game, and your game took place in 1960, and I could barely find any stats on any of the pitchers that they were facing in the night.
Again, Whitey Ford. My point is that in 1960, by the way, the Pirates got blown out 3 times during that series. So if you want to talk 19-8 the night before, the Pirates got blown out 3 times that series, and they ended up winning 4 close games. And the 4th game was pretty impressive. It was a storybook game, much like the game you're describing.
We're talking about specific moments. We're talking about a walk-off home run, not the entire series.
I'm going to watch
on the opposing team.
I
mean, it's all well and good.
I watched the game.
The greatest walk-off. Yeah. Game 7
he hit a walk-off. He hit a walk-off earlier.
Game 7 are the best 2 words in sports, especially when it's in a World Series. But if you're talking about a walk-off that had the biggest impact and then sent them on a trajectory in order to win that eventual championship, Big Papi's meant a hell of a lot more than a walk-off home run in Game 7, which you got to celebrate, but you were celebrating the championship as a whole at that point, not just that walk-off home run. People had that walk-off home run in the
championship at that point. The hit that moved the needle in the championship was Bill Mazeroski's home run. A hitter, mind you, who had an average of 260 and hit only 140 homers over his 17-year career. So this is super unlikely that this would ever happen. And this home run put this man in the Hall of Fame. Bill Mazeroski was an incredible defensive second baseman, but not a power bat. And this guy, this skinny twig guy, hits a homer over the left field fence in the Pirates Park to clinch Game 7 against a dynasty Yankees team. You're telling me that's not impressive? That's incredibly impressive.
I'm not saying it's not impressive. I'm just saying it's not the best one. The best one was when Big Papi rocked it out of the park at 122. They were down 3.
I watched the game. It's not that impressive.
You're down 3, and you're going into 12 innings. 12 innings.
They were tied, and the Yankees weren't threatening the previous half inning. The Yankees came back in my game and scored 2 in the top of the 9th to tie it. After the Pirates scored 5 in the bottom of the 8th to take the lead. That is a storybook game. In your
Wow.
game,
Big
you'll
Papi.
remember Bill Miller's Bill Miller's single off of Mariano
Come on.
Rivera and Dave
Time.
Roberts.
Time.
The sword.
Time. Woo! Wow. Things got very heated almost very quickly. Wow. Wow. You two know about your baseball more than I thought I would. All right. All right. Let's go into our closings right here. Since this is Asher Strike right here, I'm gonna go with Peggy right here for her closing. The timer will begin when you begin talking.
Prior to 04, like I said, 25 teams had been down 0-3 in a 7-game series. None had forced a game 7. This moment was the tip of the sword that started the greatest sports comeback in history. And I'm talking about the Red Sox versus the Yankees. How do you not get hyped about Big Papi going yard in the bottom of the 12th? Best walk-off home run, hands down. Throwing my cards down, conceding the rest of my time. Go ahead, Asher. Talk about your 1960 home run walk-off that no one here was around to see.
Okay then. Well, you can see the rest of our time. All right. Asher, the closing, the timer begins when you begin talking.
Maybe people didn't notice it because maybe it wasn't as televised. Because in 1960, games weren't as nationally televised, so they actually had to put them in movie reels after it happened. So I'm sorry that this home run didn't actually equate in the same time frame as it actually happened. But this home run was so important. Your home run came 3 innings after the most exciting stuff to actually happen in that game. I watched the tapes. I saw the game. Fans were bored in those last 3 innings. Nothing really happened. And then you have Ortiz hitting a homer. Sure, great. Dave Roberts' stolen base in the 9th. Bill Miller's single off of Mariano Rivera, the cooler moments. You have many better moments in that series than that home run. In my series, you have a lifetime 260 hitter who hit under 140 homers in his 17-year career, hitting a home run over the left field fence against one of the best teams to ever play the game to win a game 7. That is what you dream of if you're trying to be a baseball player. What do you dream of? You dream of hitting a walk-off homer in game 7 in the World Series. It's the only time it's ever happened in World Series history, and that's why it's considered the best home run in World Series history.
Time. All right. Very good closing arguments for both of you right here, though. We're going to hand I just checked down the person that I pick right here, though. Just want to make sure the other judges have it right here. Put the thumbs up right here if you got it. All right, Papa West has it. Kevin seemed to be working it right here. And
Good.
all right. Gonna start out with Kevin on this one right here. What do you think about the arguments right here, and who deserves the point?
Again, good arguments, great picks. Asher, that's the best pick you could make, but game 7, only time it's happened. You're right. When you're playing baseball out in the yard, it's game 7 every time, and you're always going to hit the World Series winning home run. But I said that to say this. You just started giving me too much, or your information a little too late. You were rebutting a lot of Peggy's information the whole 5 minutes. And for that reason, Peggy just brought it in this one. So my point goes to Peg.
All right. We got one Peg. I'm going to go into me on this one right here. I'm going to defer. My choice would have gone to Asher, actually, because he pulled out some examples right here, why he has shown some examples of why his Bill Mazero's in 1960 would work. And at that point, though, they were basically blown out after the instances. They were sort of a win scenario. So he put some more examples than I heard that Peggy's right here. Well, Peggy's is very good. Some examples right here. And I think Asher right here put some balls right here, though. So my point would have gone to Asher. It's 1-1 tie. I'm going to go with Papa West right here, though, and try to break the tie.
I'm not going to be breaking this tie because no one wins. Because I'm a Yankee fan, and y'all have to make me remember a horrible moment and then learn about another horrible moment. So let's go to question 3. No, I'm kidding. This was a great argument. You have the hit that wins it all versus the hit that sparks to win it all. And yes, Peggy, I do remember that '04 series. I was a wee little lad, and I hated every second of it.
As you should have.
Oh my goodness! But I love Big Poppy. I am going to go with Azure on this one, just because in a debate, it is not just what you say about your point; it is what you say against your opponent's choice. And Peggy, all I really heard about you was that the reason his doesn't live up to the moment is because none of us remember it because none of us were alive back then, and you can't find a lot of tape on it, and so you weren't able to bring a lot. Whereas Asher nailed that wasn't even the greatest part of the series. It just so happened it wasn't even the best part of that game either. It was able to give me stuff not only for his pick but against yours, so I'm gonna have to go with Asher.
All right. With that, we got a tie game with 1-1 right here, though. This is going to be a very good match. I can feel in my head right here. Or my hawk, or should I say right here, though. We're going to round number 3, which is Peggy's choice. It's the NCAA. And basically, I put this very interesting question right here. And I had something in mind right here, so I had to find a perfect mode for it. And now I finally did it. Question 3 is this. What is the biggest Heisman Trophy snub of all time? Since this is Peggy's strength right here, we'll go with her first with her selection.
The Heisman Trophy is not supposed to go to the MVP. It's supposed to go to the best player on the best team that season. That being said, the 2005 season, we remember one game from that one, most people. That's the Rose Bowl. That's USC versus Texas. Now, that year, Reggie Bush won the Heisman. Had the voting for the Heisman occurred after the national championship, you know as well as I that Heisman Trophy would have gone to Vince Young. So my choice for biggest Heisman snub would be the 2005 season that Vince Young had with the Texas Longhorns. I concede my time.
All right. Peggy's selection, Vince Young right here, aside of Reggie Bush right here. Very good selection. I'm going to go with Asher with his selection.
I mean, it's Jim Brown. It's not even a question. It's Jim Brown. Jim Brown placed 5th in Heisman voting in 1956 against Paul Hornung, who played for a 2-8 Notre Dame team and had more interceptions than touchdowns and threw for less than 2,000 yards. I mean, I don't. He's the only Heisman winner to ever play on a losing team. And Jim Brown was ranked 5th in Heisman voting that year, and he almost had 1,000 yards in 8 games when other people played 10. I mean, and he was ranked 3rd in rushing that year when other people played 10 games, and he played 8. He played for a 7-1 Syracuse team that wasn't nearly the same powerhouse as maybe Oklahoma was, but it got to the Cotton Bowl, and he wheeled that team to get to the Cotton Bowl. And it was because of a lot of things. It was a little bit of nepotism. It was also, I would say, racism back then that caused him not to win that Heisman and caused him to be placed 5th of all places, not even 2nd. So that's why I'm choosing Jim Brown as the all-time biggest Heisman Trophy.
All right. We got Vince Young versus Jim Brown right here. And I can't wait for this argument. The timer begins when you begin talking.
Vince Young in 2005 threw for 3,036 yards, 26 touchdowns. Not only that, he rushed for another 1,050 yards and 12 touchdowns. He averaged 6.8 yards per carry. That's almost as good as Reggie Bush himself in that season. Reggie Bush and the USC Trojans, you know how many top 30 defenses they faced in the regular season? None. How many top 50? None. Top 50 defenses that Vince Young faced, there's 7 of them. Top 30, there's 3. And I lost my spot.
It's okay. I mean, those are really good facts. I appreciate those facts. But I mean, like, it's Reggie Bush. Like, he was one of the most dominant players that year. Comparing him and Vince Young is very close. Comparing my two guys is very far apart. The disparity between the two contestants is very large compared to
the question is snub. Snub means should have had it and didn't have it. I mean, if you think about the season that Vince Young had, there's no way you give it to Reggie Bush. You give it to Vince Young, especially if the voting takes place after the Rose Bowl. And not even to mention that Reggie Bush had his Heisman trophy stripped away from him in later years. I guarantee you the Heisman voters wishes they had that one to do over.
I'm great. Like, inducements, getting money from people as a college student. Do you know how hard it is to be a college athlete and not get paid for it? These things, like, and do you think Heisman Trophy winners in the past have gotten inducements and money and they just haven't been found out? They haven't been caught? Of course they have. They've gotten money. Star college players get money and get endorsements because they have to get the money because they're putting themselves on the line.
Reggie, you're talking about money. What I want to be talking about right now is who should be winning a trophy. And you keep arguing about Reggie Bush and Vince Young. You should be talking more about your boy.
I just wanted to say that because you said Reggie Bush is Heisman.
All the awards in the world. Yeah, he didn't get the Heisman that one year. I don't think Jim Brown cares. I think he's got enough in his trophy case. Vince Young, he would beg for that trophy. He would love to have it right now.
That's great, but I don't really think Jim Brown cares is not a really good argument. I think the argument is that Jim Brown rushed for almost 1,000 yards in a year that he only played 8 games.
Vince Young rushed for over 1,000 yards as a quarterback.
Yes, because the game changed in 50 years.
Modern day football.
The game changed in 50 years. Do you think back then it was an offensive streak?
The game's changed. Exactly.
Yes, the game has changed.
It should go to Vince Young. He was a dual threat quarterback. He put it through the sky and on the ground.
It's great that he's a dual threat quarterback.
The most valuable player on the best team. They won the national championship that year. If you're going to give it to the most valuable player or the best player on the best team, not the most valuable player, excuse me, it's got to go to Vince Young. In the Rose Bowl, Reggie Bush, he didn't even have the most rushing yards on his team. Lendell White outrushed him in the national championship. How do you give this guy the Heisman when he doesn't even perform in the biggest game that season?
Maybe because Pete Carroll didn't give him the ball enough. He only rushed 19 times for 175 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Reggie Bush in that year was fantastic.
If you're going to have the Heisman, you want to go with the guy who's got the ball in his hands. You want that guy.
You want me to put up my stats? You want me to put up my stats? A snub is a player who loses out to a player much below where they are. Okay? Maybe Vince Young was good. Reggie Bush was right on that tier. If you want to talk about players who got snubbed, Jim Brown got snubbed against a guy who went 2-8 that year for Notre Dame, who threw, he threw more interceptions than touchdowns. He threw less for 2,000 yards. He had a 53% completion percentage. He threw for 917 yards, actually, and threw 3 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Jim Brown ran for 986 yards in 8 games when other people ran in 10 games.
Snubbed. He was straight up ignored. We're talking about snub, someone who was right there, not someone who was basically dismissed. Probably, like you said, due to racism, unfortunately. But if you're talking snub, I'm talking about someone who was right there and should have had it and didn't get it. Mm-hmm. And he was just straight up voting. Unfortunately,
Heisman voting has always happened before the championship game. It happened December 10th that year. It hasn't changed.
It just put a proof in the proof that Vince Young should have had it because he went out on that stage. He's like, "Oh, you want to see who the best one is? I'm gonna show you who the best one is." And he
going into the thought process back then. That's when Reggie Bush had his games. Reggie Bush ran for 500 yards in those past 2 games against Fresno State.
He had 2 great games right before the voting that pushed him over the edge.
And that should warrant him against Fresno State. 500 yards in the past 2 games.
Time. All right. Okay, so everybody take a deep breath on this, right?
Can't even mention my favorite thing. That sucks.
You still got a minute to mention it, baby.
Oh, you're
All right, calm down right here though. Not over yet. Not over. All right. Okay. All right. Since this is like I said, I'm going to go with Asher with his closing right here though. Timer begins. We begin talking.
listen. Vince Young had a very good year in 2005. I would say Reggie Bush was on par, if not better, than Vince Young in 2005. It's very close, and the disparity between them is insignificant. If Vince Young won the Heisman, whatever. If Reggie Bush won the Heisman, whatever. There's a clear problem that Jim Brown did not win the Heisman. He came in fifth in voting in a year that the winner went 2-8. I know I keep repeating it, but it's important. He's the only player to win the Heisman who had a losing record. He threw for less than 1,000 yards. I mean, this guy was terrible. And the fact that you didn't give Jim Brown, who was one of the best players that year, his due, partly because of the color of his skin and partly because you just didn't believe in what he could do, is shameful. And Jim Brown deserved that Heisman. He didn't deserve that fifth place. He deserved the Heisman. And Vince Young did not.
All right. Okay. Interesting close for Asher right here. Gonna head out with Peggy right here for her closing right here. Timer begins when you begin talking.
Speaking of people who deserve the Heisman, Vince Young was the quarterback who went against 7 top 50 defenses that season. The Heisman went by a landslide 900 points to a running back that faced exactly 0 top 50 defenses that year. I'm sorry, but if you're talking about snubs, if you're talking about someone who should have had it and didn't and got close, but they just didn't get, they just, for some reason, they weren't voted in, it's Vince Young. He not only threw for over 3,000 yards, he rushed for over 1,000 yards. Matt Leinart, QB of USC himself, has said that it should have gone to Vince in interviews since then. I know that's new information, but you said it not too much. So I'm sorry, Jim Brown, yes, great player, Hall of Famer, all around, one of the greats, Mount Rushmore. But if you're talking just the Heisman, just taking the Heisman that one season, it should have gone to Vince Young and not Reggie Bush.
All right. You're going to leave. Okay. Gonna concede. Very good closings for both of you right here. This is going to me on this one, which this is probably a tough one for me to figure it out because both of you pull out some great choices and pull out some great counterpoints and great examples why your player might got snubbed for the Heisman the most right here. And for me, yeah, this is the part of the process is very hard for me. The person I think slightly dark arguments right here, he pointed out an example which is closely, but I will give my point to Asher because he put some examples right here to why Jim Brown got snubbed over Paul Hornung. He put some examples right here, statistic-wise, that Jim Brown could have been a better candidate to win the Heisman that year than Paul Hornung did, right, Peggy? You did a very good job. You came very close right here, but I was just missing just maybe a little more information. Why put Vince Young over the edge of Reggie Bush right here, which I know this is really hard for me. There were two great choices right here, but the closer the margin, I will give my point to Asher right here, though. So going ahead to Papa Watts right here, which is a very tough argument right here. Both will put great choice in closing. So what do you think would get the edge?
Yeah, no, this is another good one. Again, just like the last argument, one that I remember very vividly and one that I've only heard of. One of my first memories of watching a football game is Matthew McConaughey and Will Ferrell arguing back and forth, and Will Ferrell oh, I can't hear you. I have one Heisman in my ear. Matthew McConaughey says something. I got two Heisman. I can't hear you. Best moment in my entire memory of living was watching that. But when it comes to the question being the biggest Heisman snub of all time, you can't just talk about the person who didn't win it. You have to talk about the person who won it and why they didn't deserve it over the person who did deserve it. And y'all both did a great job of doing that. But it's hard to argue why a quarterback who went 2-8 deserves it over Jim Brown, especially because I believe he had more interceptions than Jim Brown had rushing touchdowns. The only thing is I wish you would have brought up the fact that second, third, and fourth place voting was Oklahoma receiver, Oklahoma running back, and an Oklahoma offensive lineman. All got higher votes than Jim Brown himself, but it was enough to win my point, Asher. I am giving it to you.
All right. With that, the point belongs to Asher on this round right here. Kevin, your point would have mattered though. Which choice you would have gone to?
Yeah, real quickly, Peggy, you did a really good job with your stats. You came at it hard, but Asher just had the right pick. The 1,000 yards in an 8-game season, and I kind of wish you would have pushed the racism, nepotism thing a little bit harder. I think that would have given you a leg up also, but you did enough, and my point would have gone to Asher as well.
All right. We're not going to point to Asher right here. That we got two.
Can I say the fun fact?
What? All right.
Okay. Sure. Jim Brown was also their place kicker. He kicked like 43 extra points that year.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you added that tidbit. I'm glad we got bonus.
Yeah. It was fun.
Nothing about an offensive lineman getting more Heisman votes.
Yeah, I also read that, and I'm like, what?
Hey, don't hate on O lineman.
I'm not hating on O-line. An offensive lineman should never win the Heisman, though.
Well, there was one point, got very close one point, like 90.
Yes.
Like I talked about that one. Okay, with that, we got 2-1 Asher right here, though. And Peggy, this is maybe very crucial for you right here. You need to get this point to force a speed round right here to tie the game up right here. So, and Asher gets this point, he will win and move on. So, let's go into round number 4. Round number 4, which is Asher strength on the NBA. And the question is this. What NBA player has the best signature move? This is a very interesting question, both our panels right here. Tom, I just want to tell you, both of you have very interesting choices right here. So I'm going to go with Asher with his selection.
So, what's a signature move, right? It's important to discuss that. And I think a signature move is a move by a player that gets etched into, the lore of the sport. For this case, it's basketball. So what is the biggest move by a basketball player that everybody can remember and recollect? And that is Air Jordan. It's Michael Jordan's dunks. I mean, this man is incredible. And I know what Peggy's going to argue, and we're going to argue most of the same things, that Michael Jordan is awesome. And he's incredible. And one of the greatest things he ever did was show off his dunks. And it's not just from a sports perspective. It transcended sports into the pop culture lexicon of that day. Everywhere you go, you would know Michael Jordan's dunks, his Air Jordan, his airness, because of his dunks, his outstretched arm, his kickbacked arm, slamming it into the basket. And it's from that he gained a shoe line from it, one of the biggest shoe lines in the world, Air Jordan. The logo's known for generations now. And, he made Space Jam, and the climax of Space Jam is him dunking from the free throw line and stretching out, dunking from half court. So Michael Jordan's Air Jordan is the best signature move of all time.
All right. Right on the spot on time. Asher chose with Air Jordan, which go to Peggy's, and I could tell what choice Peggy might have right here, though. So I'm going to go with you with your selection.
Yeah, let's talk about signature move, because signature move is not a one-off. Signature move is something that they use again and again and again. And if you're talking about lore and something that translates down the sport, this is a move that everyone after Michael Jordan perfected it, they added it to their game, trying to emulate his style of play. And I am, of course, talking to Michael Jordan fadeaway jumper. That is Michael Jordan's signature move. Yes, everyone remembers the slam dunk, but that was a one-off. I'm talking about a move that he utilized game after game after game and was so effective that everyone else put that into their arsenal, or at least attempted to after the fact. Kobe added it. Dirk Nowitzki added it. LeBron emulated it. the fadeaway jumper was not even a thing before Michael Jordan. With the threat of the dunk, he got the shift the defender off of him and juice back fades away. Just the dunk that he had sets up the fadeaway jumper, and the fadeaway jumper is the signature move. We're not talking about jumping from the free throw line in a slam dunk contest. Yes, everyone remembers that. Do you remember who won it the next year or the year after that? No, that's a one-time, one-off thing. You don't jump from the foul line in the middle of a game. No, you wouldn't be able to pull it off. You want something that you use and utilize game after game, and Jordan utilized fadeaway jumper so much so that everyone else emulated him after the fact.
All right. Yep. Okay. Very good choices for both of you. Or should I say, Beth, MJ's go with Air Jordan versus the fadeaway jumper. This is going to be a very interesting argument indeed, and I just got through 3 rounds of it, so let's just hope this one maybe tops that. The 5-minute debate will begin when he begins talking.
Air Jordan was not.
When this topic was broached to us, I actually reply was the Air Jordan dunk. He argues that the symbol, the emblem, is that no, that's the Jumpman emblem. This is the Jumpman emblem. The Air Jordan emblem is this. So you've already lost that when you call it the Air Jordan dunk because it's the Jumpman logo, not the Air Jordan logo. And it was a one-time thing. Is Blake Griffin's signature move jumping over a Kia? I don't think so. You want something that is used in the games. You want something that is used on a consistent basis and makes you a dominant threat, whether you decide to drive the lane or you jump back for the fadeaway jumper. Well, and Michael perfected it. 82% completion average on his fadeaway jumper. That's insane.
If you're talking about one time, it's not a one-time thing. If you're talking about dunk championships, he won 2 in a row, or he won 2 from doing the free throw line, which is awesome. But that's not just what he did. It actually signature move. He did it in actual games. He did it. You're saying he never did it from the foul line again. What about with Scottie Pippen? He did it off of a tip-in, off of a free throw, coming out of nowhere. He dunked on Patrick Ewing in the playoffs. He dunked on
dunk. There's no signature dunk other than the one from the free throw line, and it's not even a signature move. It's a trick, one-trick pony.
When he kicks back his arm like that with such authority and such ferocity that he slams it over you and posterizes you, that's what I'm describing. Maybe the emblem, you got me there. Maybe that's the case, but the dunk is still the same. He does that with such ferocity and such emotion and such domination. This guy was a competitor through and through. We have all seen The Last Dance, and we know that the big thing in The Last Dance was his competitive nature and how dominant of a player he was. And the most dominant move I can think of is a slam dunk. It's emasculating.
Move is having good fadeaway jumper when you need it. You can choose to drive the lane. You can choose to fade back. You can choose to jump back and do the. You can threat no matter which way you slice it. And this is a move that everyone added to their arsenal to this day. Oh, look at him. Look at how effective he is doing that. And everyone started to emulate what Jordan was doing. Not everyone starts to emulate. They try to do the thing from the free throw line, but they can't. I'm talking about something that everyone added to the game. Every single person.
I'm going to argue that Jordan was not the first to do it because I'm pretty sure that Clyde Drexler and Reggie Miller got their hands in there and also did fadeaway jumpers around the same time.
Pull up any article you want about best signature moves in the NBA. The fadeaway jumper is on every single list. Every single one of them.
Yeah, pull up any article and you can.
No, it's not because it's not a signature move.
It is a signature move. Pull up any list and you see the top 10 Jordan dunks, and 6 or 7 of them are going to be almost the same move.
Signature moves. You're talking about Allen Iverson's crossover. You're talking about Akeem Olajuwon skyhook. But the thing that's always there is Michael's fadeaway jumper. Dirk added it to his game. Kobe added it to his game. All the greats that came after Jordan, they added it to his game because Michael Jordan perfected it. They wanted to be like Mike.
Okay. But I don't think people remember that nearly as much as they remember.
Because it happened so often. Yours was a one-off.
Mine wasn't a one-off, though. I just listed 4 times he did it. You want me to list more times he did it? He did it over Alonzo Mourning. He did it over Moses Malone. He did it over Makende.
Everyone posterized everyone on a duck every now and again. The fadeaway
He
jumper.
posterized Matumbo with the same move. I mean,
Yes, that's what
it's
makes
ridiculous.
it a signature move.
Even people
He uses it again and again and again. Jumping from the
even
free throw
people
line, because
who
you said
didn't
Air
know
Jordan dunk.
sports
You specifically said the one from the foul line. You're not talking about every other drive in the lane dunk. You specified the free throw line
remember his fadeaway.
because he used it again and again.
Okay,
and again.
so when Jordan does,
how do you pick out the best one when he was effective with it consistently?
I mean, listen, I don't hear you listing them, so I don't hear you listing his fadeaway jumper.
10,000 examples. I'm sorry, I don't have only 3 instances where I can name it because he used it again and again and again. I can't pinpoint down a single one because
there were important ones.
All of them. And I'm not talking about just 3. Like I said, is Blake Griffin's signature move jumping over Ikea? Is Dwight Howard's signature move wearing the Superman
That's
kick?
not the point. Michael Jordan, from far distances, dunked his ass off with the same kickback he did in the dunk contest. He did it a lot.
Time. Wow. I think this might be my favorite argument of this match so far. Well, just wow. And just want to not to plug anything stuff right here. I just want to say The Last Dance is really fantastic, and you should people go check it out if you haven't. And okay, enough of that. All right, let's go to your closings right here. I'm gonna go with Peggy first with her closing right here. Timer will begin when you begin talking, and you still have your extension if you want to use it.
Can't be a signature move if it's something you can't pull out of your arsenal game in, game out. Something that you use on a constant basis, something that is your go-to, your thing. Fadeaway jumper. Everyone thinks of Jordan. Yeah, they think of the dunks, but they think of fade back. The leg kick out. I mean, everyone who came after him added that to their game. Dunks are a 1 in a million thing, and if you're just talking about the dunk that came from the free throw line, that's a one-off thing. It's not a signature move. The fadeaway jumper is his signature move because you don't know if he's going to drive hard to the lane or if he's going to fade back. It keeps the defense on their toes. And everyone after him, they added it to their arsenal. How can you not say that that's a signature move of Michael Jordan's? And we're talking about the greatest player of all time and signature move. It's got to be your choice, man. I don't know what else to say. It's not a one-trick pony type of thing where it's just in the dunk contest and maybe on a breakaway. You have to be something that's a consistent move you use game in and game out. And the fadeaway jumper is something you saw every single night Jordan laced up his Jordans.
Time. All right. I would go closing on Peggy's right here. And I'm going to go with Asher for his closing right here. Timer begins when you begin talking.
I'm going to use my extra minute.
All right. You can use his 1 minute extension. Make sure you.
If you're looking at jump shots and fadeaways, Jordan was very good at it. Yes, I'll give you that. But she didn't mention his important moments with it. So I think that's also an important point to note. He did have important moments with it. But I'm just going to sidetrack that. I'd say Clyde Drexler, Reggie Miller, Gary Payton, Larry Bird, they had pretty adequate jump shots also. I don't really consider his to be a monumental achievement. But what I do consider to be a monumental achievement is his dunking ability. And yes, I said Air Jordan. But most of his dunks that I've been talking about, actually all of his dunks that I've been talking about, have resembled Air Jordan. They've all been kickback arms with much ferocity towards the basket and a lot of playmaking ability from that. The important part of basketball is domination. The biggest part of basketball is dominating your opponent. Michael Jordan did that in spades when he dunked. And it's not just from the free throw line. He dunked on countless players. Dikembe Mutombo, Moses Malone, Alonzo Mourning. He dunked over all those players. Patrick Ewing in the playoffs with such ferocity. Listen, do you want to see Superman's strength? You see it in his dunks. You see it in his ferocity. You see it in how he dominates the game. And the most dominant move in all of Big Four sports is his dunk. And here's another thing. It transcended sports into pop culture. It came into a movie in the climax of a very famous nostalgic movie of the 90s. And it became kind of the image of the NBA for quite some time. One more thing I want to note is that, he wanted to show off his God-given talent and how he can close to the rim. He had such a driving ability to how he closed to the rim and how forceful he was and how emasculating it was to dunk on other people. You know, the fadeaway jumper is the Scottie Pippen of signature moves. You know what's the Michael Jordan signature moves? Air Jordan.
Time. Wow. Why on the nose? This is probably my toughest decision for me as a judge and also slash host for here today. And just want to say, going to me, this is very good, great arguments for both of you. He put some great examples. Both of you put great examples of why your player, or should I say, what Michael Jordan's signature move is. And for me, I don't want to be the bad guy here, but for me, I'm going through stuff I wrote, and the person for me that I will give my point to, even by much, is I'm gonna go slightly to Peggy because she put some more examples to Jordan's move, some more example than Wando. I think she put you down, Asher, for a bit because if some instances it might be the one trick thing. They don't kind of use it all that much. And I was kind of looking for some more examples right here they put than dunking contests in general, even some of it right here. And a little bit more enough right here. You just put it right here, just came very close, but I wasn't hearing enough of it right here. So I'm gonna give my point to Peggy. So I'm gonna give my point to Kevin right here though. Kevin, what do you think your selection might be, and what do you think I have a better argument? Can't hear you.
Sorry. This was a close one. Both of you going with Jordan made it tough. Peggy owned you, Ash, with the Jumpman logo thing, and I think you knew that. You kept trying to goad her into getting her to say, you haven't brought up any examples like Drexler, Miller, all those guys, but she brought up good stats, 82% on fadeaways, how the dunk or how the fadeaway set up either a drive or a shot. And it's just she brought up too many good points that I don't feel like you could come back from. So my point goes to Peggy.
All right. With that, we got a tie game here. We got a tie game, 2-2. Going to go to Papa Watts right here. Your point would have mattered. What choice would you could have gone to?
I was actually leaning towards Asher. Peggy said it was a one-trick pony, and I was ready to give Peggy the point. And Asher gave me several times where he used it in an actual game, and was able to visualize that. I will say, though, this was definitely the closest argument of all four. I would have given it to Asher, but I could have very easily given it to Peggy too, and I know exactly why the other two judges gave it to Peggy.
All right. With that, it's 2-2 tie game. You know what that means? After the 4-1, we're going into the speed round. The speed round, everybody. Yeah. And with that, and for those of you who don't know what the speed round is, let me give you some quick examples what the speed round is. You got speed round rules is this. You got 45 seconds on your opening, 30 seconds on your rebuttal, and 20 seconds on your closing. When I'm going to say the question once or twice. And after I say the question twice, the person said their name first, I pick the person right here and you tell your answer, and the other one the same thing. So I'm going to give you the speed round question. Which sports coach has the most success with multiple teams? Again, which sports coach has the most success with multiple teams?
Peggy.
Asher.
Right here, Peggy first. What'd you pick?
Phil Jackson.
All right. Asher?
Wait, did you? Okay. I thought I said it first, but wait. Yeah. Right? Casey Stengel.
Okay. All right. We got Peggy's choice of Phil Jackson with Asher's choice is Casey Stengel right here. Peggy, your 45-second opening will begin when you begin talking.
Phil Jackson is regarded as one of the greatest coaches of all time. He led not only the Chicago Bulls to multiple championships, he led the LA Lakers to multiple championships. When you're talking about the Mount Rushmore of coaches across sports in general, Phil Jackson's either on there or he's in the conversation. If you're talking about best coach to win championships with multiple teams, that's a small club, and at the head of that club is Phil Jackson.
All right. She's going to concede with her 45 seconds. I'm going to go with Asher right here with his selection right here. 40-second opening will begin when you begin talking.
Casey Stengel was an incredible coach. He ended up winning several World Series with the Yankees, and he ended up bringing the Mets, the 1969 Mets, to the World Series, 7 years out of their existence of being a ball club. That is the shortest time a team has won the World Series up to that point. There have been later ones now, but Casey Stengel was able to bring an incredible Yankees team to many dynastic wins, World Series wins over his time, and he brought a ragtag group of players like the New York Mets in 1969 to win the World Series. So Casey Stengel doesn't have it easy like Phil Jackson.
All right. I was going to concede with it. All right. I'm going to go Peggy again with her 30-second rebuttal. It will begin when you begin talking. Hold on.
Pretty good.
All right. 30-second rebuttal will begin when you begin talking, Peggy.
Casey Stengel does sound like a good coach, good manager, if you will, but he brought only one championship to those Mets, according to you. Phil Jackson got multiple in Chicago and multiple in LA. If we're talking about best coach of all time, that across different franchises, it's got to be Phil, baby. I'm sorry. All apologies to the Mets and the Yankees.
All right. All right. Asher, for your 30-second rebuttal, when it begins, when you begin talking.
I might as well say it. Phil Jackson had Michael Jordan, Kobe, and Shaq. I mean, what kind of players are you going to have on a team that wins 11 championships? Yeah, Kobe, Shaq, and Michael Jordan. So maybe it's the players that actually helped him out. The players on the Mets that ended up winning that series were a bunch of ragtag players that didn't know better, and Casey Stengel willed them to a win. He also won several with the Yankees prior. So he's an incredible coach. Phil Jackson just had the weapons to use.
All right. This is gonna concede right
I'm
here.
done. Yeah.
All right. Just say concede right here during afterwards.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's all right. It's okay. All right, Peggy. 20 seconds will begin for your closing when you begin talking.
Multiple championships with multiple franchises. Phil Jackson is regarded as one of the best coaches ever in the history of sports, period. I've never even heard of this guy that he's talking about because it was Yankees in the 50s. I have no idea. Haven't heard of the name. Phil Jackson. Everyone knows Phil Jackson.
All right. She's going to concede with that. Okay, then. All right, Asher. All right. Asher, 20 seconds on your closing when you begin talking.
You want to know why people know about Phil Jackson? It's because of Kobe, Shaq, and Michael Jordan. You want to know why people know about Casey Stengel? It's because how he willed his teams to win as a great coach, and that's what you know. Check your history. He won multiple championships with multiple teams, including the ragtag Mets. You have Kobe, Shaq, and Michael Jordan. The talent's there. You just have to put it on the field.
Time.
Wow. Okay, then. This closing, might be my toughest decision right here. I just want to say before I move on to my judges, just want to say both of you put up a great job. Your closings for your speed rounds, both of you put a great job. And I just want to go to our judges. Go and start with Papa West right here for the speed round question and who gets the point and why.
All right, this was a good one. Asher, thank you for telling me who Casey Stengel was in your opening because I'm just like Peggy. I have never heard of him, but that's also because I'm a young, ignorant person and don't read a lot of history. And again, Phil Jackson, it's hard to not know who that guy is. But with that, I am going to give it to Asher because he was able to. His biggest thing against Phil Jackson was Phil Jackson had Michael Jordan, Kobe, and Shaq, and it's really hard not to win with those three. I do wish there was a little more you brought to it of how Phil had some really high highs, but also a lot of low lows. Also bringing in the Knicks, which I believe you're a fan of, Asher. Am I correct on saying that?
The what?
The
The
Knicks?
Knicks? Eh.
Did
I
you
can
used
take
to
or leave
be?
them.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, had you brought up some of that, brought up some like the bad years or even the championships he
Yeah.
lost, I think it would have been a lot
Yeah.
closer. But I do still think you had the better argument on that. So I'm giving it to Asher.
All right. I'm going to go with Kevin on right here, though. Kevin,
All
what do you
right.
think have a better argument and why? Who gets the point?
These speed rounds kill me. I can't get enough information down and get my brain thinking enough. You both brought it though. Both good picks. I'm on a similar plane as Jacob. I didn't know who Casey Spangle was at all, but in the limited time that you had, Asher, you brought me some good information. Um, Peggy, I know it's just one of those things where you may not have known who he was either, so you can't really do much rebutting when that's the case. But part of debating is rebutting, and so Asher did bring up the rebuttal of the Kobe Shaq MJ line, and how Spangle had the ragtag players on the Mets and willed his team to win, and he said, "Check your history, fool." So my point goes to Asher.
Okay. Whoa. All right. With that. And your winner. And moving on to the finals of the Rookies Tournament, Asher Gold. Whew. Wow. My point would have mattered. Actually would have same thing. I actually would have got my point to Asher. Same thing as both of you put that out there. And I look, trying to bring the dog right here to trying to make us feel bad right here right now.
She's been
I
begging to
feel
get
bad.
into the
Don't worry.
match, so I
Aw.
am moving up.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
This is Rory, by the way, guys.
The mascot.
oh.
She's your
Eh.
Cody. All right, down.
All right, with that, let's talk to our winner, Mr. Asher Gold. Asher, I can tell you're just really exhausted for the 4 rounds and the speed round. Just how you feeling?
That was a grudge match. I am tired. Peggy, I thank you, judges, but I think Peggy deserved that win. Wow. I was really tripped up when I knew what she was going to choose. Never got first in that speed round. She was Phil Jackson. So I had to use some cunning ability to counter it. But she came to play. I'm happy with my win. I think I brought a lot of good points, but I think Peggy is a perfect foil. Perfect foe. She just came up with the stats, with the arguments, with the counters. It was I can't wait to see her continue to compete in this league, and I would love a rematch, honestly. Peggy was great. As for me, did a great job still had to offer. I gotta do a better job with basketball. I know it so well, but I have no idea why I keep losing basketball points. But I'm happy to be moving on to face, one of these hooligans, So yeah, I'm happy. But Peggy, hell of a match, fantastic game.
All right, with that, let's go into unfortunate answer right here, Peggy right here. You pulled very close though. You were very close for taking the match right here. I just want to say, how you feeling? And
I'm all right. I'm okay with this. Asher, he did fantastic. I know he's gonna do well in the championship, so I'm not mad about that at all. Asher, go give him hell. It's hard. How do you debate against Jim Brown deserving a Heisman Trophy? I mean, that's it's a hard one to overcome. I thought I had him on the dunk thing. I sure as hell thought I had him with Phil Jackson. But yeah, he brought some good points about a guy I'd never heard of, and I guess that put him over the top for you guys. C'est la vie. I'll see you again soon, Asher. Hopefully.
All right. We will see.
Fantastic.
All right.
Just-
Let's just want to say congratulations. Yes. Let's go to our judges right here, though. Just to start with Papa West right here. Wow, that's a really exhausting match right here, though. One of the players is right. It is a grudge match right here. And how do you feel this match overall?
I mean, this went to 5 rounds, and it deserved to go to 5 rounds. Both Asher and Peggy are great competitors. I cannot wait to take either of them on whenever you finally bring me back from my suspension or punishment for losing to Sean or whatever you're calling it. No, I definitely think they both did a great job. And I will say, Asher, using racism as a huge point for one of your arguments, I took it to heart because it was a page that I used against Sean. So I guess you were watching my tapes. You're a fan. Thank you.
All right. Gonna go. We're taking to Kevin right here, though. This match itself. What do you think?
This is the second time I believe I've seen both of these competitors in the debate realm, and a massive uptick in their styles. They've both done a lot of homework, and it shows. This was an awesome match. An awesome match to judge. I feel like the last 4 or 5 matches I've been involved in have been barn burners. So hopefully that keeps going that way. And definitely don't hang your head, Peggy. Come back with a vengeance and take this whole thing down.
Nah, I got a moral victory. That's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
All right. With that, and this is might be. I'm so rooting for this match right here, and I almost ran out of wire right here. Just still some of it left. So, all right, with that, and just want to say congratulations, Asher. You're moving on to the championship round of my rookies tournament, and whoever is the winner of the Ethan versus Amara match right here. I just hope whoever wins that one, I can tell it's going to be a great championship match either way. I just want to say for us from TNG Entertainment to Papa West to Kevin to Peggy to Asher. I just want to say goodbye, everybody. Wash your hands and take care.